Welcome to Raven Creek. Raven Creek is a relatively large city located at the bottom southwest of Knox County. The city itself almost resembles a smaller, more densely compacted Louisville, with high-rise buildings and a pretty hefty zombie population. However, being absolutely insane, I decided that wasn't enough of a challenge. So I added on a couple more mods, most notably Superb Survivors, 10 years later, Toxic Fog, Deadly Fog, The Darkness is Coming, and lastly, Horde Nights. Without a clear objective as to when to end the challenge, I was instead just going to attempt to survive. After all, there's a couple of ways that I could easily die here. The Darkness is a random meta event. During a short period of time, anywhere between 36 and 72 hours, the entire world will be plunged in darkness, and all zombies will be extremely fast, extremely strong, and extremely resilient. If this was to line up with a Horde Night, I would certainly die. In order to avoid this happening, I plan on creating myself a small team of survivors. I intend on capturing the local Bluegrass High School and turning it into a base of operations. This is how I died. Just like any good Project Zomboid run, I started off by looting the immediate area. Personally, I actually like playing 10 years later. Having a lot less food to find gives me more incentive to search around. For some reason, Raven Creek is also really fond of spawning you on rooftops. I should mention that I took another mod called the Insurgent Profession mod. I didn't take the profession itself, but I took some of the roles that come with the mod. These traits just give me a lot of really good stats, but I think it should be acceptable to use them here, since my character's lore is that he's a survivor. At this point I would have already had quite a bit of skills. After dealing with that little house party of sorts, I decided to just check every room in this part of the apartment and then head back upstairs to my temporary hideout. This was only meant to be a temporary loot stash, so I just placed everything on the ground. I started with quite a few items from the traits I picked, but they were all pretty heavy, so I was just planning on leaving them here for the most part. I then went back to looting inside the apartment block. After breaking a box, I realized I actually had quite a few points in carpentry that I could use. This would be helpful as I intended on building bridges across buildings. This would probably come in handy whenever the darkness came around, as if I could get from safe house to safe house without having to use the open streets, I would be a lot less likely to be spotted by the runners. One of the few things that I didn't actively make harder for myself about the darkness was that the sprinters have both poor eyesight and hearing, meaning that my best chance to survive a darkness event would probably be to just stay out of sight. After doing drugs, I managed to crash my game just by pressing the sleep option. Thankfully, after about 10 minutes in the menu, I managed to get back. And surprisingly, there wasn't any corruption. For anybody interested in specific, these are the traits that I took. Another mod I should mention I took is Restless Zombies Fixed, just because it adds a little bit more challenge. I still hear a zombie somewhere, so I just quickly checked the building to make sure nobody had entered, and then tried to localize where they had gotten in from. One of the most important parts about Restless Zombies Fixed is that zombies will now just break in and enter buildings. After I made sure nobody was home, I decided to get back to work on my little bridge. I was almost across, just missing one little block. And my first bridge was complete. Now, if the fog was ever to come, I could hopefully escape here before the zombies got to the top floor and I could lock myself away. With this bridge connecting the two apartment blocks, I could get back and forth much faster. I had already set up my camp on the roof of one of them, so it's faster than having to go all the way down and crossing the street. I then marked this apartment block as seen, so I would know if I ever came back here in the future, there's nothing in there for me. In Project Zomboid, few things can surpass the feeling of staring at a campfire at night. But Zomboid isn't a game of peace. In fact, it's a tragedy. Looking out from the top of the apartment block, all you could see was death and destruction. Today I had decided to loot the other apartment right next to mine. For the most part, I just spent the entire day looting. I found some zombies downstairs in the other apartment and decided maybe I should barricade the windows here so more don't get in. Then there was a survivor for some reason. Don't know how they even got in, but I killed them. One of the real only issues with superb survivors is that fighting them is pretty janky. Yet somehow a zomboid got in behind me. Even though I had pretty much barricaded all the entrances I could think of, there were more. Now, imagine if this was a darkness event, and that zombie that just walked in was in fact a super strength sprinter who I wasn't expecting. Because Restless Zombies fix just makes every mod about 70 times worse. After I was done barricading, I was just going to return back up to the rooftops, like I normally would. However, shortly after pressing the X key, I found out that there was another survivor in the building. Unknowingly, he would become my greatest ally. Stuart was slightly bugged and wouldn't join my group, no matter how many times he tried to accept it. But I knew that as long as he would follow me, we could get to work. And that's when I remembered I had a mod that let me play music.